He is an associate professor of government and politics at Utica College. Luke Perry on the line right now. Luke, good morning. Thanks for coming on this morning.
Good morning.
So what are your thoughts? I kind of asked this to everybody the first time we speak to them. Ever seen anything like this campaign?
No, of course not.
Yeah. I guess that's a dumb question when you think about it. So we've gone through yet another weekend. WikiLeaks out. Doesn't seem like there's any smoking gun in any of it. It shows basically nasty politics, and we can talk about that. But these women coming out, it seems like the floodgates have been opened, and we're up to 9 women that say that it's in some way Trump groped them or forced a kiss on them. Is this having any effect? It doesn't. It seems like there's a dip in the polls. Hillary's getting a boost, but it's not big. The base seems to be pretty well in place. What are your thoughts?
I think that's accurate. I mean, these are serious allegations, and in terms of the election, the timing couldn't be any worse for the Trump campaign. But I think his supporters have been fairly consistent. You look at aggregate polling over the last year, and he's ranged between 38 and 45%. So the people who support him are not going to go anywhere, but his challenge is trying to close the gap with Clinton. And I think the recent challenges he's been facing make that very difficult.
Yeah. There was a firebombing over the weekend at a Republican headquarters in North Carolina. Are you at all? What are your thoughts? Are we worried at this point? I saw yesterday an interview with a Trump supporter who almost implied. Well, he did imply that the only way to handle this is to really assassinate Hillary Clinton. Are you at all worried that we're going down with a rhetoric that it's going to cause violence, maybe leading up to the campaign, and then after, based on the results?
As a political science professor teaching young adults about American politics, the rhetoric throughout this campaign, I think, has been very troubling. One of the wonderful things about American governments is that for most of the country's history, conflicts have been resolved peacefully, and elections have been respected, even during the Civil War. So, yes, I very much would like to see the rhetoric toned down, appeals to violence and appeals to the perceived rigged election that Trump has spoken of, because I think that type of rhetoric is not helpful or good for American democracy.
Yeah. It isn't. And I don't know of another time, and maybe you can tell me, of another time that there's been talk of the election being rigged. It's almost been a taboo. You country first, and that's not happening here. Is there another time that you can remember this was ever used as a strategy?
I can't. I mean, I think there's been nasty rhetoric in presidential elections before, particularly in early America. That was a particularly ugly time in regards to campaigns, and people said horrible things about each other, some of which were true and some of which weren't. But in a modern sense, this is very unusual. And, I think in many ways that makes Donald Trump an interesting figure in American politics, because as we began, he's highly unpredictable.
Yeah.
And, I think clearly he senses that things are not going his way. And as he said, he's not going to restrain himself in terms of his thoughts and how he's going to campaign. And so every day, every week, you don't know what's going to happen next.
You just referred to Trump as how he plays as a figure in American politics. Let's just say he loses. Do we see him appear politically again, Donald Trump? Does he become?
No, I suspect a subtext to his candidacy is a business approach, right? He did say years ago that he'd probably be the only person who could lose a presidential election and make money. He's built his own companies for a lot of his campaign activities, which is legally required, but has also been quite profitable for him. And I think if he's unsuccessful, he's positioning himself to go into a media venture of some sort, whether that'll be a cable news network or some type of multimedia platform. I don't know. So I think he will continue to talk about politics and be a political figure, but I doubt he would run for office, and he'd probably go into the media at some point.
It is. There's no way, though. I mean, these are very dedicated supporters. There's no way these people, if Hillary wins, and they just don't go away. I can't see that happening. I mean, there's a lot of passion out there. And speaking of that, Jim Zecca community advocate and Donald Trump lover times 10. Jim is continually peppering me with messages about this firebombing in North Carolina. So I don't know what you want us to say about it, but I'll ask you, Professor, about that. We're talking about the rhetoric, and his take is that everybody said Democrats keep saying that the Republicans are going to riot, but he's saying that this shows that it's the Democrats that are doing the rioting. Interestingly, through history, conservatives are not a rioting bunch of people.
No.
But what is interesting about this group, Professor, here's where I want to go with this, is, you know, we said there was a woman, the guy that was on TV yesterday being interviewed and said that he was so angry that Hillary was stealing the election that he felt that assassination would be the answer. These are not traditional. There are traditional conservatives and Republicans backing Trump, but then there's this new crowd that probably hasn't voted. What are your thoughts on all of this?
More radical, don't you think? Though?
More radical. And what are your thoughts about all of it?
Well, first, I think certainly in terms of the Clinton campaign that, some of the rhetoric she's been using is problematic as well. It's also highly strategic in the sense that she made a conscious decision to focus on her perceived unfitness of Donald Trump for being president.
Right,
so
right.
It's been a very personal campaign on both sides. And I think, you know, we've seen this in debates, we've seen this in the campaign trail. Hillary Clinton easily could have said Donald Trump has no political experience, he has no military experience, there's been no president who has done this, and then talked about, you know, here are the issues that are important to me, here's what I want to do, here's why I was motivated to run for president. And, you know, the substance on both sides has been muted, and Clinton has been very personal in terms of how she's gone about this campaign as well. So that certainly contributed to that, and I'm not trying to deny that. In regards to the potential turnout of new voters, I think that's going to be part of what's going to happen for Donald Trump. Talking to people in his campaign, I don't think the turnout is going to be high enough to be as significant as they would like to win swing states. So I think it is there. It is a new element, but I don't think it's going to be decisive in regards to the election.
Got it. And the media, Newt Gingrich yesterday blasting the media, as Trump has and Pence has and Republicans have, the media being totally biased in the corner of Hillary Clinton. What are your thoughts?
Well, you know, this comes up in political science and studies of American politics quite a bit. So most of the major news organizations are owned by conservatives, and a slight majority of reporters at large, surveys show us, are liberal. I think that, in many professions, there's a desire and a focused intent to be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
And I think there are some news media organizations that do that, and then I think there are news media organizations who are deliberately trying to cater to a conservative or liberal audience. So, I mean, when I look at Donald Trump's rhetoric in regards to the rigged election, his premise is that news media organizations are against him. And I think there is some credence to that in the sense that the New York Times editorial board, the Washington Post editorial board, they've written very critically about his campaign, and even traditionally conservative editorial boards in newspapers in Arizona and Texas, you know, made news a few weeks ago by endorsing Hillary Clinton. First time they've endorsed Democrats for several generations.
Right.
So, you know, I think that, you know, I could see where he's coming from in terms of the sense that the media is against him. But that doesn't mean that all reporting in America is inaccurate, and there's a conspiracy to keep him from the White House.
Funny, it's the same strategy Hillary used when Bill was getting attacked, right? It was that conspiracy theory out there. They're out to get us, and Trump is using the same thing. Fact is, though, Professor, without the media, Trump would have had to have spent money during the primary. Without the media, Trump might not be the nominee. It's really the media that has been covering him 24/7 that put him where he is right now.
Well, now, isn't he starting his own, though? The TNN, the Trump News Network?
It might happen. Professor, listen, we'll get you back on again. Crazy election. We'd like to have you back. Thanks so much for coming on this morning.
My pleasure.
All right, that's Professor Luke Perry at Utica College. On the line right now is Tonya Powers from Fox News with a quick preview of what we can expect coming up Wednesday night. What are your thoughts, Tonya?
Hey, good morning. Your last guest was quite interesting to listen to. I enjoyed that. See, this is why we should all be listening to you in the morning,
That's
right?
it. That is it. Well, you know, you can only attack the media so long before at some point we have to try to defend ourselves a little here, and it's kind of hard not to chase all these stories when Donald Trump gives us a new one about every other hour.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There has been so much done and said, and the media coverage of, I mean, he can say what he wants to about us, but, the media coverage of him has been far and away way greater than pretty much everybody else combined.
Yeah. I like to say Hillary's just boring. Trump
gives
you something to talk about. So
he does.
Okay, I don't expect boredom at this debate on Wednesday night.
No, absolutely not. I think one of the things that that we will probably hear more of is more of the fact that Donald Trump thinks everything is rigged.
Yeah.
Which again kind of feeds into the whole the media has turned it against me, and it's every man for himself kind of thing that he's got going there. But his running mate on Meet the Press yesterday, Governor Mike Pence, said that they would absolutely accept the results of the election. Now, he's the first one of the two of them to actually say those words.
Right, right.
We have not heard that from Donald Trump. From Trump, as a matter of fact, we keep hearing the election is rigged and we need to watch certain polling places.
Well, it's interesting that when Trump, I was watching that interview yesterday, and just as Pence was saying we'll accept the results, and he's really not talking about actually rigging the election. He's talking about the media rigging the election. Trump tweeted out, "No, I'm talking about the polling places."
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Wow.
We're getting this stuff in real time via Twitter out of Trump. It's just, it's nuts. How much is the sex scandal going to play a role on Wednesday night?
I would expect it to play some role.
Yeah.
Because one of the topics and Chris Wallace of Fox is the moderator, which will be interesting to watch to see how he handles it. We've seen several examples so far of moderators, Lester Holt and Elaine Quijano and Martha Raddatz and Anderson Cooper. And so it'll be interesting to see how Chris handles this. But I think, I think that kind of thing is definitely going to come up. I mean, Donald Trump has come off 9 days straight of being just hammered for his, remarks, inappropriate, things that have been he's been accused of with women that's been the thing everybody's talked about for the last, 2 weeks almost. That's going to come up because one of the topics is fitness to be president, and I don't think they're talking about can you run a mile.
Right.
Right, because she wouldn't be able to do that, I don't think.
Well,
I'm not sure he could either at this point, though. I mean,
well, this is it's funny how he's going after her on the health issue. Yet the breathing, there's definitely a breathing thing that goes on during these debates.
He's just got sinus issues, Bill.
It's a sinus thing. I'm sure it is. But this calling for a drug test before the debate on Wednesday is just out of left field. I mean, although I do wonder if somebody somebody come up to Trump and said, I'm hearing rumors that she's on these performance drugs, and Trump goes out, well, all right, let me just run with it, and that's kind of what it seemed like happened over the weekend.
Of all of the things that we ever expected in this election,
anybody who predicted that one deserves
performance-enhancing drugs was not on the list as far as I think most of us were concerned.
Yeah, there's a checklist of things that you expect. It wasn't on the checklist.
No, nope. not on the list at all.
No. All right, Tonya, as always, it's great talking to you. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
All right, Tonya J. Powers from Fox News.